Be streaming. Let's see whether or not Twitch can catch on. Had some bad luck with this last week, so I'm starting a little bit early today because it took me 10 minutes to go live. Well, it looks like Twitch is already working. At least it's giving me the little spinny thing. So I think we are online. I'll go post to Twitter about it. Streaming some indie dev. Gonna do animations and UI. Gonna be relaxing. Paste. Alright, so that should be all we needed for that, and now we can actually start. That's assuming that people can see me, and given that Evil Luigi said hello, I think that people can see me. Strangely, Evil Luigi isn't marked as watching. I have 0 viewers. But despite that, he still said hello. He's a ghost of Luigi. All right, so what I did while you were all gone is I switched out some of the elements of this system. So last time, you may remember that you had these little bubbles that you could drag to change the size of the various facial characteristics of the character. Well, what I've done is I've replaced the little bubbles with something that looks the same but has very different functionality. For example, here is the face bubble. And you can see that it has 4-way arrows, orthogonal arrows, and you can drag it. Well, you can't drag that one because it's not active yet. It's only half implemented. Let's do this one. You can drag this to change all the various characteristics. But unlike last time, if you look at the character from the side, which isn't valid right now, we're going to have to fix that. You'll get different arrows. So I'm now going in different orthogonal directions. And that should be good because it will allow us to create all of these balls with 6 variations instead of just a few. That said, there are some bugs in it right now. And we're going to go ahead and fix up some bugs and work on some animations and stuff. I've gotten rid of the animations I was using from Blender. I don't know whether or not I'll replace them today on camera or not, but I'm just going to replace them with Unity-made animations that don't have random crap attached to them. So what's really confusing me is what's going on with this camera mount, because I thought that I fixed this. You can see how it's really far forward. It's focused here. That shouldn't be possible. Okay, so it looks like Z is not not what you might think it is. There we are. Better. Alright, so that's really what we needed to do. So, let's go ahead and make some more body morphs, and then we'll move on to face morphs, and then we'll make it so you can switch between the two more easily. A bunch of stuff like that. So for right now, let's take a look. I think I finished all of the body morphs that I have. I just haven't got as many body morphs as I would like. So we're going to duplicate this and bring it down to one of the spine locations and make it our belly morph or our fat morph. Now in the previous version, what we did is we had a up and down be male and female specific weight, and then left and right be general weight. In this case, we don't have to have a left and a right, but I think what I'm going to do is map the left and right to the same as the forward and backward. Just make it so that it's identical. That way, we won't have to worry about accidentally, this should still morph it. But right now, our avatar edit handlers don't actually allow us to do that, so we're going to go ahead and put that in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make our fore and back morphs equal to our left and right morphs if there is no left and right morph. So, I mean, if there is no fore and back morph. So if for morph 4 equals and morph back equals, then val.z equals val.x. There we are. So that will allow us to morph however we would like. But here's the thing. We might be modifying it on the z-axis rather than the x-axis, so we need to be a little more careful. We could just merge them together, but that's not quite right. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if... Okay, so bool 1 horizontal equals false. Then we'll just go ahead and say, in fact, it's not false, it's equal to this. And then here we're going to say if 1 horizontal, then we can say if value.x does not equal val.x, then value.z equals val.z. Else if value.z does not equal val.z, value.x equals val.z. Sorry, I got those backwards. Look at that. This is supposed to be x. So what I've just said is if we only have one set of values, then if we've modified x, set z equal to x. But if we've modified z, set x equal to z. So whichever one we're modifying right now, set both of them equal to it. And that should allow us some leeway here. And we won't need this anymore. And in fact, we don't need this either. So we'll just go ahead and say if. There we are. Oh, and that's the wrong equals. Look at that. So can you guys see the stream all right? I'm having some serious spinny bits over here on the dashboard. Now I tend to have a lot of issues that nobody else seems to have when I'm looking at the dashboard, so hopefully everybody can see it okay and hear me okay. Let me know if you can or can't. Right, that's all good. So what we have here is these questions are about whether or not we are going to be able to see the fore and back arrows. So that was actually, no, that was why I had done it. I'm sorry. Bool 1 horizontal axis equals this. If 1 horizontal axis, then do this stuff. And down here, we're going to go ahead and show that this only gets applied if it's not a horizontal axis. So first we'll check for x, then we'll check for y, and then down here we'll say if 1 horizontal axis, then val.z equals val.x, else. And I know that I'm setting it equal twice, but that's because I may have modified val.x. So we're not gonna bother to fuss with it. We're just gonna do it as it is. And when we're showing the arrows, we have this thing here where we say morph fore, morph down, morph this, morph that. And that's all fine except for our morph fore and our morph back. You know what we should probably do? No, this is okay. Shaggy Man says it's fine, so it's fine. Right now we have arrows that are going to be a little bit screwy, so we'll go ahead and make sure those arrows work. If 1 horiz axis, else. So if we've only got one axis, what we want to do is set the fore and back arrows equal to the left and right arrows. So this will be morph right and morph left, or morph left and morph right. All right, there we are. So that should allow us to have arrows pointed in every which direction whenever we need them to. So this should now be able to show us, here it is, this guy, should now be able to show us chest wide and chest narrow there. You know what, in the end, I think it'd probably be best to put that as a bool outside of all of this stuff. There we are. So now we won't even search for it. We'll just go ahead and let whoever is building it specify it. And the reason I'm doing that rather than, you know, heuristically establishing it is simply because if we heuristically establish it, there are times when I don't want it to be true, even when that heuristic says it should be. So let's take a look for this. There's got to be another spot here where I set it up. There it is. So now if I press play here, grind. If I look at how this looks right now, you can see that there is no arrow pointing forward or backwards. It's only up and down. So if I were to turn on this one horizontal axis for the chest, I think that's it, yeah. You can see that now I can see it. And if I were to drag it, it's going to drag it wide. Oh, that was interesting. I haven't seen that happen before. Okay, so it looks like I have the X and Y axes backwards here. That's interesting. How did I do that? Do I have... Oh, Z is up. Guys, Z is up. I'm not actually sure whether that's globally true, but it is true here, and it's a huge pain in the butt. No, wait, that can't be right. That's got to be Y, because it's been morph up, morph down the whole time, right? So, what did I do? So that still works. But when I rotate it... Okay, well, that up and down works fine. We got to turn the horizontal axis on here. So you can see that the editing on the x-axis just does nothing. It's neither good nor bad. It just doesn't edit. All right, so the problem isn't that the x is up or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't edit. So what should happen is with one horizontal axis on, it should say if the value coming in does not equal the existing value, then set the other one to it. But at some point, either we can't edit the value, which seems a little odd, or there's something screwy going on with the axis. So we're going to go ahead and put that here. Debug.log setting value.x to value.z. And then we're just going to debug.log the value. Let's go back over, set this up to horizontal axis right from the start. And there we got it, and we should be able to just clear this out and see it happen. Okay, so see how it says setting value.x to value.z 0? So there's something screwy going on here. It might simply be that the values are too small. Oh, it's probably that. What? Well, I'll just do it like this. What am I doing? I've got to start thinking straight. I'm trying to do something on camera, and I'm screwing up basic logic. You know, I am just the best, guys. You can definitely learn how to program by watching me, because everyone makes dumb mistakes, and it's best to be able to realize it. Also, half the times you guys catch them before I do. There, that's better. So obviously this doesn't make any sense, because this axis shouldn't be pulling towards the camera like this, but that's just our debug axis. So we're going to turn that off, and it's going to go back to not being valid. Carl says that he usually watches me on YouTube, and it's weird that I am moving at normal speed instead of 3.5 times speed. I can't imagine that I can even be understood at 3.5 times speed. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start working on this fat now. And we are going to use the one horizontal axis for this part. So we're going to have up and down be male and female padding. So we'll just do M fat and F fat, and then we'll do fat and skinny, or pudgy and skinny. Now that's poogy. Pudgy. All right. So these are actually backwards for the front and back axis. We are going to need to invert them, aren't we? We can't do that. We'll just live with it. We'll fix it later if I decide we need to fix it later. So we're going to build some fat. So let's do that. Boom. And so this is going to be Pudgy. So we have some dedicated weight bones floating around here. There it is. That's the big one. We're going to be building some just generic Pudge that could work on women or men equally, which means that it's not going to be too excessive. Just going to be enough that you can tell that they're a little overweight. So if we are going to do that, we can just drag here like so. That's fine. Drag down just a little bit. Let's adjust the chest. And then the overall rib cage just a touch. And then what we can do is bring the rib cage down slightly and forward slightly. We bring these guys down slightly. Here we are. All right, so to add some a little bit more weight, we're going to beef up the shoulders and a couple of other areas too. So our neck scales right here, we can pull them up to give ourselves a little bit of a rounded shoulder shape like so. We can take the shoulder scales and pull them down to give ourselves some extra sloping shoulders, just a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing for the bicep and forearm scales. Carl says that he watches everything on YouTube at 350% speed. I can't imagine. Nothing wrong with it, of course. It's a lot. And let's go ahead and adjust some leg stuff here. There's a variety of things we want to scale up, but we need to be a little bit careful because some of these are distinctly feminine. And we're supposed to be pretty gender neutral with this particular weight. So we're not going to push it too far. Too much. And we'll just go ahead and scale all of these up. Bloop. And then pull them all down. Bloop. All right. So that's a little bit of chub, not too much chub. Let's bring up the back beef. This is a bone which I never weighted properly, so it looks a little bit bad. We're gonna want to deal with that later, but that's how it works. So what I'm upset about with this is that it's very difficult for me to get the neck to work, and I'm still working on the best way to do that. But we can try it out. We can go a little bit of softening up here. So if we grab the neck, this is our neck and all of our various pieces. If we scale up the neck in total like this, and then scale down the neck 3, we can get something which is not too shabby. But the problem, of course, is that we still need to get softness down around the jaw. The jaw has a couple of softness bones. It's a little bit odd to be editing the jaw bones when we're doing a body morph, but it's allowed, so we'll do that. And it would be down here under the head scale, jaw, shibloop. And can we scale it up? Shibloop. Pull it back maybe. Didn't really look that good. That's okay. We'll have to work it out later on. I'll try and figure it out. This is just placeholder art anyway, so right now I'm busy learning the details of what I'll need to know later. Like I learned that the nose needs another bone. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Save that pudgy pose and then reset. Boom. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some skinny. The skinny pose is very similar, except for in the opposite direction. So we're going to take that belly morph, and we are going to move it back and up. So you can see that if we move it up, we pull the belt up. And that's a weighting issue. It shouldn't be weighted like that. But what we're going to do instead is rotate to try and keep that morph viable. Yeah. Another option we have is we can pull it like this and then pull it up. Yeah, something like that works okay. And that will allow us to get that skinny feel. But that's just the belly. What we would like to do is trim off of the sides as well. Those are spinal elements, so they need to be dealt with via the spine. And just notch off some of that weight there, and then we'll bring it back up for the top. Now we're going to go and turn on this cube here. This is my height control cube so that I know how big things are supposed to be. And I think what we've done is we have ended up pulling the character down a little bit. We're just going to pull them back up because we adjusted the scale of some of the spine elements, and that makes them closer to their children. Okay, so that one wouldn't work. That's fine. Erdroy says, hello, Erdroy. We're just doing some of the same stuff we did last week because I had to change some stuff around. But we'll then move on to some new stuff. Either way, for skinny people, we're going to just go ahead and reduce all of the scaling elements here. There we are. And that'll give us a skinny person. Let's go ahead and bring the hip scale down a little bit. There we are. And our shoulders can also be adjusted, so we'll just go ahead and grab them. Biceps, forearms, shoulders, biceps, forearms, shoulders. Neck morphs can be brought down too. We can't push it too far just because I didn't set it up to be able to push that, be pushed that far. But yeah, it's not too bad. We're gonna go ahead and adjust the neck. Just so we have a nice skinny neck, like that. That'll make us look real skinny. We're gonna bring the overall size of the rib cage down. And then we're also gonna shrink these separately and rotate them slightly back. There we are. And then we're gonna save it. Yay, saving a pose. And then we're gonna reset it. Now we're gonna do the gendered weight. So this is going to be our middle-aged heavyweight guy, Morph. And we're going to start with the belly. Bleh. It's okay if we push it too far, because by default it's only going to get pushed to 3/4 weight when we are doing automatic character generation. The question is how far people will drag it when they are doing their own characters. So we're going to take our rib cage, going to increase the rib cage size slightly, but mostly we're going to be focusing on trying to get it to feel saggy. That'll do. It's probably worth tilting down just a touch too. We've got some weight we want to add into basically everything, similar to the way we did with our general morph, but more so. Let's take our shoulder morphs and neck morphs off here and scale up these guys some more. Now let's bring in some of our scaling. So when we are scaling this stuff up, it's important to remember how it interacts with the rest of the frame. And this is kind of a temporary thing, so it's got some less than ideal weighting going on. And I can't really do anything about that right now. Later on, we're going to want to create something with all of the stuff we've learned. Erdroy says, this is interesting, but how important is it? It is, the body morphs are of moderate importance, but the face morphs are very important. And the face morphs just come after the body morphs, so it's not that big a deal. We'll get to them in a moment. And now I've got thunder thighs here. Too much hip. Bring the hips down a little bit. Oh, too much beef too. Like that. That's fine. I guess I just made everything a little too large. So we want to bring the neck in and make them lose their jaw if we can. And that's a little difficult, but we'll give it a shot. One of the reasons that I'm making these morphs so dramatic, and I'm going to make them more dramatic in the final if I can pull it off, is simply because the profile, the portrait of the characters, you need to be able to tell them all apart, and you need to be able to tell them apart when they're little teeny characters walking around a spaceship. And because of that, they need to have a fairly distinct set of appearances. So that's why I'm doing this. But for now, we're going to go and adjust the jaw so that it looks a little bit more heavyweight. And we can do that in a couple of ways. Well, I am neck selecting here. I'm trying to select the jaw. Thank you. So there's a lot of ways that you can try to get this to work. And I think what we're going to do is rotate, not the jaw, this. And then bring it down and back. We can also take down the scale a little bit to try and get that to vanish into our neck. But it's not going to be easy because it's not weighted very well. That's close enough. Looks like I have made their head too small. That's fine. That'll do. Now it's time for the other kind, fat. Now, this is something that I've been planning for a long time, so it could be that I'm overestimating the importance of these parameters, but to me, it really does matter. And I really do want to have these characters feel distinct. Since it's supposed to be kind of Sims-like, I don't really want to have characters that all feel the same. I want them to feel quite different. All right, once again, we'll adjust this up a little bit, and then, nope, that's too much. And then bring it down a little bit, and then we will just bring these guys up. There we are, something like that, and then we can pull them down. All right, let's adjust some of these scales here. And then we'll bring in some of this leg beef, just like with the guy. And the same with the arms, so... Boop. Boop. And we'll go ahead and bring up the neck morph to try and give us that sloped neck. Like that. And then we're going to do the same neck adjustment that we did before. What happens if we subtract from the upper head instead? Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to subtract from the upper head, not from the neck 3. That was the problem I was had. So you can already see that that reduces the jawline pretty dramatically in comparison to what I was doing before. So that should be able to take some of this jaw stuff and get it to work properly. Let's go ahead and soften up the jaw. Yeah, that's good. That is fine. We'll go ahead and save that. Now we're going to load up the MFAT morph and fix it. There we go. And well, the way we're going to fix it is we're going to change the neck scale. The neck 3 scale is actually correct. Oh, no, wait, that's over here. The morph is not showing properly. There we are. Neck 3 at 111. And the upper head, we'll get our morph down. There we are. That's much better. All right. Good enough. I'll go ahead and reset that pose. I hit play. Shaboom. And we can adjust the character now, so you can see how that works. Oh, it looks like you lose the ball into the belly. We're going to want to put this ball on the belly rather than someplace else, so that when you scale the belly, you also scale this up and you can actually continue to see it. Bloop. There we are. Wow, that is an ugly character. Some of these morphs are a little too extreme, and I might have to change them or remove them. Like the shoulder skinny morph is probably the biggest offender here. It seems to be causing most of the issues, but the shoulders on this mesh are really terrible anyway. Well, that's fine. So now we're going to just go ahead and do a hip morph. Like this. And it's going to be not the same. It's not going to be a horizontal axis thing. We're going to do a morph up, morph down. What do we want? Well, the back morph will be, so these are going to be butt small and butt big, because of course you got to have butt sliders, right? The left and the right is going to be hip narrow and hip wide. Up and down, I think we can do legs long and legs short. That ought to do it. So we'll start with the legs long and legs short and move on from there. So when we want to make the legs long, we have a couple of different options. We can scale them up, or we can simply pull them. In this case, I think it's better if we just pull them. So let's go ahead and do just that. So grab the legs and pull them a little bit. So it's much easier to extend the legs like this than to shorten them. And that puts us through the floor, so we'll grab our middle spine and pull ourselves up. And that'll keep our feet nicely on the ground, right? I think that we actually want some more height. So let's go ahead and make it even more height. So that's not what we're going to want to do. We'll go ahead and pull these there. There. really long legs. Save pose. Reset pose. Now we're going to do legs short. As I said, it's much, much harder to shorten the legs. So if I were to show you, you see it folds over itself, so we obviously can't do that. What we can do is shorten the legs by bringing them up here and then scaling them down. Well, that's not a good combo, is it? We'll just scale them down. And then we'll drag them in a little bit, like doomp and doomp. And then we'll just drag our character until they're on the ground. Like so. And there is our legs short. Save pose. Reset pose. Now let's see, we had hip wide and hip narrow. So hip wide. So hips and hips. Short and long legs really affect the overall height. That is fine. No problem with that at all. Oh, that's because we didn't choose the right elements. That's fine. Yep. Do I want to affect the... No, I guess that's probably fine. We'll go ahead and increase the beef in the leg scale just a little bit. There we are. Give ourselves some noticeable hips. I think we need to bring these hips down just a touch. They're a little bit excessive on the front. Oh, that's a little bit of an excessive change. Okay, there we are. But on the other hand, these can be adjusted by dragging. So if we wanted to, we could scale them up on any one axis because they're morphs. So for example, this would work fine. And can we bring them out without screwing it up? It might not be possible just due to the way that I've weighted these. Good enough. Save pose. Reset pose. You know what we should do? We should actually move the legs apart to get us that real extra hippiness there. Save pose. Reset pose, and we got hips narrow. Hips narrow will be the opposite. And we'll just reduce all of these beefs. And that includes our hip scale, of course. Looks good. Save pose. Reset pose. Now we're going to do the butt big and the butt small. Now the butt is almost entirely this hip scale, but when we scale it up on other axes, it will affect lots of things. It's not a butt bone. So we've got to use a little bit of finesse. So you can see how that's pulling out on the front. If we pull it back like this, we can get ourselves a little bit of buttness. That should be fine. But it would be nice if we could get more butt. So let's take a look at what happens when we scale it up on this axis. You can see how that pulls the hips out. A way to do this, which doesn't pull the hips out quite as much, is to just move them like this. I don't actually know how much I moved it. Click, click, that's fine. Click, click, that's fine too. So that should probably be how we do the hips in general. I might have to adjust it later. That's fine. So we'll save that and we'll reset it. Oh, that's, there you go, reset, and we'll do butt small. And obviously butt small is basically the opposite. No butt. Reset pose. Let's do that hips wide. Load it up. Oh, it's hip wide, not hips wide. Okay. And if we can, I think maybe pulling the legs apart is too much. Let's go ahead and not do that. And instead, we will use this scale pull. And I think we might be able to use the scale pull here as well. No, we aren't. Okay. Not a huge fan of how this looks. That'll do. Reset. And I think these are supposed to be hips, not hip. Oh, sorry, I just burped straight into the mic. I'm sure that was fun to listen to. No, it's hip. Well, it's going to be hips here as well. So if we go down here and take a look at this ball, we can now adjust the exact size of the character. Okay, so it looks like our legs short has some problems where it doesn't carry along the butt. I probably moved the wrong element when I did the body morph there. So we'll just pop on back over here and do the short legs. Yep, that's not going to work. So I must have moved spine 4 instead of spine 5 when I was trying to set this up. No? No? What did I move? Okay, so there's something screwy going on here. What is causing this? Is that attached to the root? Okay, so apparently it wants me to move the root, but that sounds like it's mostly due to a badly applied morph, since clearly that's not supposed to happen. It looks like I've got some of the back being attached to root rather than spine 5, and that's something I need to actually edit. That is non-viable. Model, avatar model. There we are. So, if we take a look at the character, this is the set of bones we've been moving. This one is the upper leg. Here is the spine 5. And you can see that as we move the spine 5, stuff gets left behind. So we're going to move that, and then we're going to go and switch into our paint mode on the clothes. And basically we want to get rid of the morph, or rather the attachment to the root bone. But there doesn't appear to be any other bones doing anything there. And this is... here. So if we auto-normalize, it will switch over to being some other weight, but I don't know what other bones are in the running. Well, let's go ahead and just do it like this. The root bone shouldn't be directly connected to anything. So that will at least marginally fix it. And then we will go ahead and go back and then reset it like so, and then save it and head on back over. Wait for it to reload that system. Might as well check and see what's happening on Twitter. Nothing. All right. Grind, grind, grind. Taking quite a bit of time here. Come on. Fix your butt. Get your butt in gear. There we are. Much better. So it was fine. It was just a weird thing that I had done wrong in the actual editing file. So now when we do it, we shouldn't have any problems. I'm going to grab this. You can adjust the weight and the butt and all that stuff as you see fit. There is definitely some bad weighting here. There's no particular reason she should have like a tail stub. So we might have to adjust that sort of thing. But for now, I think we can call that okay. And then we make it hippier and shorter, all sorts of stuff. Here we can make her fatter. Wow, she gets really, really heavy if you're not careful. All right, so that's the basic idea here. There are some more morphs I could add. There's no bust morph, for example. Might as well throw it in before we move on to the face. It'll only take a couple of seconds. So this is going to be our bust morph, which we'll put here, I suppose. And then we will call this a up and down, huh? Well, this is basically going to be the chest morph for broader chests. That's what it was in the previous version. They were mixed together. I don't really think that's necessary anymore. So we're not going to have a morph up. Morph down will be F bust down. A morph right will be F bust wide. And then this F bust narrow. And then we will just go ahead and make that one horizontal axis. So the problem with this approach is that it's going to mean, just because of how we're randomly checking what's going on, it's actually going to end up creating a lot more women than men, just because now we've got 4 female morphs and 1 male morph. But that's okay, because we'll switch over to using a different version of that system in the long run. This should be attached to there. Okay, so let's go over to our, that'd be pecs. Perfect. So pop on over to our morph, lock it in, and let's get started. So M pecs, same bones, just in a different direction for the masculine figure. There we are. So we're going to expand the rib cage a little bit, not too much. And then we're going to tilt it back a little bit, not too much. And then we're going to scale up just these, not too much. And then we're going to move them out. That's pretty feminine. Let's go ahead and unscale them. What we actually probably want here is scaled up on the y-axis, or up-down axis. And it's hard to say, because the figure doesn't really go very well. It's not really built for big pecs. It looks very, very busty to me. Well, if we pull it back. And up. Can we pull the whole rib cage up? Whatever. Close enough. And then we'll do F bust down. With the idea here being that these are old lady boobs. Everybody's got to have the option to have old lady boobs, right? Save pose. We got F bust out. Did I use out and in as the terms? I think I did. Probably should rename those to something less stupid. Wide and narrow. Let's call them big and small. And that should be more or less accurate. I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect. So we have a lot of options as to whether or not we would like to do holistic editing here and also scale up slightly heavier elements elsewhere. There's no reason to completely avoid it. And then bust small. Now these two morphs can technically be applied at the same time to a random character. An edited character can't use them both, but It's worth noting the kinds of combinations you're likely to see, and in this case, the kinds of combinations you're likely to see include some stuff that wouldn't normally happen if you were editing your character. That'll do. All right, so now we've got a bunch of morphs for the body. And if we hit play, they'll be randomized. Hey, Baguetta, what's up? So you can see that the character gets a randomized body now. And that should be fine. What we're going to want to do is have this body morph only remember its own morph elements. So we're going to go up to here. It's already still saved, so we're not too worried. And here we've got this handles list. This handles list is going to just include the handles that are attached to the body. That means we're going to hide these guys. Oh, it only does the whole thing at once, huh? Well, we can just turn them off here. Like that. Oh, I'm still locked. That's why it hit everything at once. So, there. That's better. So what'll happen now is we're going to go and grab all of the handles for this character, for this morph. And that means everything up to the face, but not including the face. And we're going to want to have a function that we can do that with. So here are the handles. We're going to go ahead and say public void find handles. What do you want to call it? Find active handles, load active handles. And basically, we've already got a function that does exactly this, but the one that we've got down here actually has this situation where it fetches all of them, like this, and we don't want to fetch all of them. We only want to fetch the ones that are currently active. And then up here, we're going to say menu item, context menu. Yeah, I think it's just context menu. Load active handles. Then down here, we're going to want to adjust this so that this only happens if they are not currently, if there's no list of handles. So if handles.count.length equals 0, then do that. That way we won't ever accidentally load up the head morphs when we are trying to talk about body morphs. So load active handles. And did that load up? Yeah. So there we've got a bunch of active handles, and it's fairly easy to repeat that process. No, not static. Cancel. On. That's what I want to do. And then here we've got another avatar edit controller. It's its own thing. If we leave the handles empty, it'll load up all of the handles in the head. So that'll work fine. Now, if we hit play, we shouldn't be able to see the handles on the face. Oh, it starts as... So we can still see them, and the reason for that is because it starts as on rather than off. We could work on that. Let's go ahead and take a look here. The problem is this starts as off, as you can see. So if we were to turn both of them on, there would just be a random one that gets control. But both of them have fully active... I think the head is the active one at the moment. Yeah, no, they're both bad. I can tell they're both bad because they're not properly adjusting their... oh, I guess it's the body. The body is currently the active one. So the bottom of the control stack is the top of the control stack. All right, that's fine. It's dumb, but it's fine. The problem is that that's not what we would like to do. We want to have a button that switches between them. So let's go over to our UI and create some buttons. I don't have anything that looks particularly like head versus body, but I do have something that sort of looks like head versus body. So we're going to use that. And that would be what we normally build portraits out of. So we'll just inject some portrait stuff into our avatar manipulation canvas here. Image, boom, drag this down to the bottom, like here. I say image. I mean button. Button. Boom. Drag this down to the image here. It's better. We're going to want to have it on the right, attached to the lower left, and attached to the bottom, and to make it 0, because that's the top. I always get that backwards. And then this should be 0. Oh, I see. That's not attached to the backdrop. I put it on the wrong object. That's fine. There we are. So here, we're attached to the correct object. And we're going to make this to be 100 by 100. We're going to delete the text inside. We don't need it. And we're going to switch the sprite out for our portfolio. There it is. So portrait sprites. See these? So there's our portrait sprite. And we're going to duplicate the button, and we're going to use just the portrait mask here. And we'll color the portrait mask gold, and we'll color the body blue. So, with that in mind, let's take a look at these highlighted colors here, where we're going to make this, this is the blue one, so we're going to make it like this perhaps, just to change the color. And then this one, we're going to make the highlighted color kind of orangey red like this, just to change the color. And when we hit play, this button should now float down here, and we can highlight over it. But you can see that this mask counts as completely opaque at all times, including where it's not. And that is not what we want. What we would like is a button that actually has only this round element clickable. And the way we can do that is we can we add in a mask? Will that work? No, mask didn't work. Okay. Carl says, do you find it harder to code or implement something, i.e. UI, while trying to explain what you're doing? Huh? Coding and implementing something is the same thing. If you mean, do I find it easier to code while I'm talking, or harder to code while I'm talking, it's not really that big of a difference. Put this inside of the other button. No, it's not. That's fine. When I'm talking to myself, I have a better capability. You know, when I'm talking to you guys via talking to myself, I have a better capability to work through basic problems, but I wouldn't be able to develop really cool stuff without being careful. That stuff requires me to sit and type it out and stuff like that. Also, there are times when I make really dumb mistakes because I'm talking to you guys, and that really does slow me down. Not that it's your fault, it's just that's how it is. So what we would like to do is have these buttons change which of the controls is currently active on the editor. So we have a custom editor script somewhere. Is it here? There it is, avatar editor script. And we're going to want this to have the ability to choose the head or the body morph. Head edit, public void body edit. Now, when we talk about this, we don't have links to these directly. So we have a couple of options. One is we can search for the avatar edit controller script and just select the one that seems likely. And the other option is that we can save them somewhere. I think we're just going to select the one that seems likely. I think that's probably easiest. So avatar edit controller array. AEC equals avatar.getComponents in children avatar edit controller. True. And then we're going to go ahead and just say AEC0. I guess we'll check if AEC.length does not equal to debug.log error cannot select between controllers, between avatar edit controllers if there aren't exactly two. Return. And then here we'll say AEC0 dot enabled dot set active. The avatar edit controller should be able to be turned on and off. It has the check mark there. There it is. Now the reason I'm just doing this without checking anything is because the way that it parses the way that it searches for children, it will definitely have to pass by the body controller first, because the head controller is a child of the body controller. And that means that we'll always be guaranteed to have the head controller be the second on the list and the body controller be the first. But this is a hack, so make sure you make a note of that. To do, this is a hack. Maybe don't do it like this. But it's a hack that takes me 10 seconds to do, so that's good. Let's go ahead and add in some on clicks here. Drop this in here, and then tell it that we're going to want to activate the editor. Is it not compiling or something? Body edit and head edit. Okay, so I named it slightly weird stuff. I hate that. I wish Windows 10 wouldn't do that. Or get stuck. The bottom sometimes gets a tooltip stuck on true all the time. So this is going to be the head edit. There you are. And this is going to be the body edit. Boom. Hit save, hit play. All right, so if we click on the head edit, you can see that we zoom in towards the head here. There are a couple of details I think I should probably fix with this, but for now that's okay. What we're going to want to do is the camera mount. I think we're going to want to set this up so that it has a specific offset when you go to look at the head rather than still being zoomed out, and vice versa when you look at the body. So to do that, we're going to need to find and set this camera mount here, this control simple orbit. When we're doing a hacky thing anyway, we might as well continue to do the hacky thing, and that would be simple orbit equals camera.main.find in parent, or get in parent. Camera control simple orbit. If SO equals null, then return, I don't care. Otherwise, we're going to want to set the range to whatever we would like. And in this case, I think maybe 5. And in this case, maybe 1. No, that's 1, huh? And that's 5? All right, that's not the right values. Let's make it 0.2 or 0.3 F and 1.5 F. Grind, 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 and go to the head, go to the body, go to the head. Yeah, this works. The only problem is these handles are not properly activating and deactivating. So if we look over here at the controls, the avatar edit controller, when we are going to lose control, we are supposed to deactivate the handles. However, when we disable the system, it doesn't count as losing control as far as I know. So when we set this to false, it doesn't trigger that. if we go here, this is the parent class that controls when that shit happens. And here is on deactivate, on disable, on remove from stack, on remove from stack. So on lose control and on gain control have nothing to do with the stack control stuff. So I just put them in the wrong spot. That should be in on, come on add to stack and on remove from stack. There is no base.on add to stack, but there might be someday. And now, if we go over to the head, you can see that the body morphs vanish. And if we go down here, the head morphs vanish. See that? That's what we're supposed to have happen. And of course, these work. You can adjust the nose. I haven't done very many morphs for the face yet, just a few. But you can see the basic idea. I think we're going to go ahead and do some more morphs for the face. Let's go ahead and do a lip morph. Everybody loves lip morphs, right? You better. Put this on the lip, mouth left. There we are. So if this is going to be, there are a couple of different things that we can adjust here. We can adjust the height of the mouth, and we can adjust the lips. I think that this one, we're going to make them adjust the height of the mouth, just because it's off-center, and that makes more sense to me. I'm not sure why it does, but it does. So we're going to make this edit the entire mouth. We'll put it down slightly below the mouth. And this will be mouth up, mouth down, mouth wide, mouth narrow, and mouth out, mouth in. Go up to our root element, lock it in place, and let's get editing. Mouth up. So if we want to move the mouth up, that's largely a matter of dragging this up. We'll also want to shorten the nose a little bit. And just move the entire mouth up just a little, not too much. No, don't do that. We're missing the mouth. There it is. There. You know, I don't think that's severe enough. I think we can get a lot more severe. So let's try it out. That's good. Better. Save pose. Reset pose. And then let's do a mouth down. Obviously, there are several things that adjust the exact position of the mouth. So this is just one of them. And they can add together, and that can result in some pretty epically huge adjustments. And that's something to keep in mind. And now let's bring the actual lip down just a little bit here. And that's the nostrils. There. Where's the upper lip center? There it is. There we are. Reset pose. Mouth wide. We happen to have all of the mouth elements currently in place. We might as well just widen them. So we can either widen them by scaling out, or we can widen them by moving, and that makes more sense in most cases. So let's go ahead and do that. Nope, that's much too large of a step. So 0.05. Now we're going to want the elements here to be moved back a little bit. Oh, that's not it. Here it is. Hey, a little too far. Like so. And bring these guys forward one step. Oh, that's too many steps. And then these get brought back. Here it is. Like that. And there is our wide mouth. That's fine. Save pose. Reset pose. And the narrow mouth is just the opposite, so. Too many. And then what we can do is we can actually bring these in another step. Like this. But only if we bring the inner ones out a step, like this. There we are. There is our narrow mouth. Save pose. Reset pose, and then let's do the, what did I call it, mouth out? Yeah, mouth out. Mouth out is something you get when you're looking from the side, so let's go ahead and set that up. By just yanking out all of our mouth stuff. So the question here is how much do we want to add in some extra lip when we do this? Because big lips are also going to combine with this. I think we're going to want at least some lip adjustment here. So let's go ahead and put in at least a little bit. Scale these mouths. Just mumbling to myself, which is, I'm sure, very fun to watch or listen to. There we are. So that should work. There is our lips forward, which also grows the lips a little bit. I think what I want to do is take the nasal bridge and rotate it back just a little bit to soften that a little bit. Did that rotate to the side? No. Good. So save that. Reset the pose. And now we're going to do the opposite, where we bring the mouth back. Now, bringing the mouth back is questionable because there are things back there, like teeth. But we can do it a little bit. So we'll bring it back, and then we'll scale them down on this axis just a little bit, like that. Yeah, that's fine. I think the lower lips need to be brought forward a little bit, just because they're giving us a serious underbite. There we are. Overbite is what I meant to say. Save pose. There we have, I just overwrote the mouth out because I'm an idiot. So this is actually mouth in, not mouth out. Save pose, and then we'll want to reset and do the mouth out again. Sorry, my bad. So let's take that nose and rotate it, see if I can get rid of that little bit of damage to the mesh by rotating the nose into place. And I can, more or less. Good. And then the lower lips. So one of the issues is that our lower lips are not quite rigged correctly, but that's okay. This makes our chin look like it doesn't even exist. This is definitely a caricature, and I'm not sure that I like it. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit because it's a little bit over excessive there. Save pose, and reset. If we hit play, look at this frowny person. So every time we hit randomize all, we'll get a new face like this. Let's go ahead and make the lip editing now, because that's super easy. Won't even take a fraction of what I took on the body. Come on, click on the right thing. Drop this down into the upper lip center. There we are. Zero it out. Come on, 0. No, I'm editing the wrong thing, damn it. So this goes in the upper lip center. And this is not what I want. It really should just have a different background color entirely if you are locked. There's no reason it doesn't. So I wish that they would just use a different background color if you're locked. So here is going to be our lip editor, and we're going to just put it on the lower lip. And I think we're going to shrink it a little bit. There we go. And this is going to be lip big, lip small, lip wide, lip narrow, lip out, and lip in. Like that. And then we're going to go ahead and reset this, because I think that I might have... No, it's fine. Let's go all the way up to the root and reset here. That's fine too. Okay. So I didn't cause any damage when I did something stupid. That's fine. So let's do this. Got lip big. And this is just going to puff up our lips. Basic stuff. Oh! And we're going to tilt back the upper lips just a little bit here. I think we can probably push this a little bit further. Let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so right now the problem is that we don't have enough bones. And you can see that as we scale this up, we're scaling up the upper, the area below the nostril. And that's not going to work. So we can't scale this up any further without damaging the face. So that's the size. That's as big as it gets. Reset the pose. This will be lips small. And obviously we're going to scale the lips down. And we'll just drag the lips up to more or less the correct position here. Like this, and like this. Pull this back just a touch. There. Save pose, reset. This will be our lip wide. And lip wide will just move the elements of the lip outwards without making the mouth any wider. Like this. I think that we can adjust them a little bit so that they're not quite so stupid looking. Good enough. And then lip narrow. And this will give us that pursed lips. It's the exact opposite. Let's bring them forward. Not that far forward. There we are. Safe pose. All right, so that's wide, narrow, up, down, big, small. We got forward and backwards now, right? It's out and in. Lip out. So we're not going to be making these lips poke out like we did before because we already have a morph for that. This is instead going to be the one that rotates the lips so that they got more lip surface showing. So that's what we're going to do here. Like so. We do have to pull it out a little bit because, you know, we've got to adjust it. And now let's do the lower lip, which is going to be harder because it really has a much worse rigging. I think that's good enough. Safe pose, and then we got lip in. And that's not going to be like a lip back because we've already got that. It's going to be bringing the lips in the opposite direction so that you've got very little lip showing. This will also strongly affect certain expressions on the face. Come on, mouse, get it together. So it's worth doing right. Wolf of the Noob says, why do people use Unity instead of Blender or Maya? I don't know what you mean. They are completely different. I used both Blender and Unity here. I'm doing this particular stuff in Unity because I need to hook it up using a very, very complex system, and Blender's animation exports break. They don't work. They're buggy in this one particular circumstance. So all of my stuff has to be done, all of my animations have to be done in Unity solely because otherwise things don't work right. But most people probably animate most of the stuff that they can in Unity. I mean, in Blender rather, because I mean, Unity isn't made for animating; it's made for doing games. Safe pose, and then reset. So now when I hit play, we can go up to the head, and you can see that what we've got here is a fairly unique looking face, and we can just continue to adjust it however we want, so we can get some unusual lips in a variety of ways. If we right-click, it'll reset. Hurrah! Of course, the expression that they have on their face does change how their lips look, but that's kind of the point. So this is too far forward because it's getting in the way when we're doing a near edit, so we're going to pull it back. Wolf the Noob says, oh, okay, the character model imports works best for Unity, Blender Maya's for the animation. Got it. No. I don't think you do. All of this stuff is made in Blender. Watch, I'll open it up for you. So if we go down into the avatar models and open it up, this is Blender. So I've got the character model in Blender, and I've got all of the stuff in Blender that I need. I rigged it in Blender, I modeled it in Blender, I set up all the blend shapes in Blender. But because Blender exports animations wrong, I can't do my animations in Blender. Most people aren't going to have that problem. So for most people, they'll also do their animations in Blender. But then what they do is they export all of that stuff into Unity so they can make a game out of it. Because Blender has a game engine, but it's not very good. People don't prefer this, Wolf and Noob. It's just me. I'm the only guy doing this. You can't blend Blender animations very well in Unity, so that's why I have to do it in Unity. So now we've got lips and that sort of stuff. We got the width of the face. But let's go ahead and add in some eye editing. Here we've got mouth. We'll just drop this into the eye. Boom. So let's bring the size of this down some. Unity is being really precocious today with all of its flitting about. So we're going to want to have one that moves the eye and one that changes the scale of the eye. This one might as well be the one that moves it, so we'll call this eye up, eye down, eye out, or eye y, eye wide set, eye narrow set, eye forward, eye forward, and eye back. These are probably better as out and in because everything else is out and in. There we are. So now we're going to go and build those. We go up here, lock it in place, and do our stuff. Eye up. These are very, very easy. Shouldn't take long at all. Just got to make sure we don't accidentally make the mesh look terrible. Eye up. That's good enough. If you get that and you scale up, it might look like a disaster, but the randomizer is locked to 75% at most. So it's only players that are going to be able to make it look dumb. And if they want their characters to look dumb, okay. Eye down. Eye wide set. Nope, way too much. So one of the questions I've got is, should I be rotating? That's something I've been thinking about for a while. Should the wide set eye be rotated slightly so that it... Stop going 2 notches. There we are. So that it looks a little bit better, and I think it probably should be. It does give you a slightly fish-eyed look in the neutral version, but it should look okay in the... Well, no, rather than rotate, shouldn't I be pulling it back? I think I should be pulling it back. Okay, so let's take a look here. Basically, the issue is that the eye is actually at the edge of the face here, and it's risking popping out. Yeah, pull it back, that works fine. That's fine then, safe pose. Reset pose, and eye narrow set. So I scale L, and I scale R. I don't think I can bring them in 2 notches. I think 1 notch is the max. I can bring them in 2 notches, but it looks bad, so 1 notch is fine. Reset pose, and then we got eye out and eye in. And of course, that is pulling the eye forward or backwards. Now, this is something that is a little bit dicey just due to the fact that this is an Asian default mesh, and so the eyes are already fairly shallowly set, and it's quite easy to end up with this kind of disgusting fisheye look if you pull the eye out any further. So we have to pull the cheekbone forward in order to neutralize that. Otherwise, we get like a medical condition, and that's not really what we want to get. And then this will be deep set eyes, which are fine. All right. So now we've got our eye adjusters. Let's go up and take a look. Yep. Terrifying. All right, so let's go ahead and make the eye scale adjust. Hey Clausen, what's up? We're doing some of the same stuff we did on Wednesday, but we're doing it in a much better way. Joy of refactoring, I'm afraid. Carl says, do you think there would be a way to make custom Unity window be able to edit the transform and rotation of the scene camera instead of always trying to pan or move around? The scene camera is a really, really obnoxious part of Unity. And they have not yet really realized how much people want a better scene camera. So it's very difficult to make the scene camera do what you want via code. And it is a real shame. So I expect that in the future we'll have some ability to edit that stuff, but right now it's not happening. I wish it would. So previously what I did is I made it so that you could get the wideness and narrowness separately from the overall scale, and that's not what I'm going to be doing exactly. I am going to have an eye widen and an eye narrowing, but they're going to be separate from the scale of the eye. So eye widen, eye narrow. And then we're going to want the right and the left to be scale. Eye large, eye small. And the 4 on the back, I don't think they have any purpose here, so we're not going to put them in. Yeah, that should be fine. So with that happening, let's go ahead and go up to our editing element. Here it is. Lock it in place and get some of that stuff going. So we got eye widen. And what we're going to do for eye widen is we're going to edit the eyelids. So when we are doing the eyelids in animations, we're overriding the rotation of these eyelids. And that means that it might be possible for us to adjust the eyelids position instead of rotation in order to get them to be wider like this. And in the end, it'll still blink, but it'll look like that. I think that this might be a bad idea, but it's easy enough to undo it later if we decide we want to change how it works. So I'm not too concerned. The thing is that we're going to need to bring the lower eyelid up a kind of similar amount, and the reason for that is simply because otherwise the eyelids won't close when you blink. So let's go ahead and reset that pose. Boom. And bring the eyelids in the other direction here. Save eyelids. Resuppose. So now we're going to do the eye scale up and the eye scale down, which I think I called eye large and eye small. I don't remember. I think that's what I called them. And that we can just adjust the overall scale here, and that should work fine. So here's our eye large. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Yeah, okay. Save pose. And an eye small. And an eye small is the exact other direction. Just go. Perfect. Save pose. We're going to want to do an eye slant up and an eye slant down. And these are the things that I was trying to remember and I'd forgotten to do. We're going to want to reset this pose because obviously we don't want the eye slant to automatically make your eyes smaller as well. So with the eye scale, we can just slant it like this and like this, and we've got a slant. See? Pretty straightforward stuff. Save pose. And now for eye slant down. Up. Up. Can you rotate the correct direction? Save pose. Oh, that was eye slant up. Oh, whatever. Down. Save pose. And this will be eye slant up, which is just the opposite direction. Save pose. Right. Now reset pose. Boom. And now this is going to actually have some of this. This will be eye slant up and eye slant down. It's not going to fit perfectly well, but it should be reasonable. Let's take a look. Hello there. You've got a chubby face. So here you can see that we can adjust the eye slant as well as the method of the eye and how it looks. And then we can adjust the scale. And then we can adjust the scale position like this. Drop it back. Yeah. You can get some really stupid looking shapes if you just go nuts. But as you can see, the shapes that you get on the face when it's just random aren't so displeasing. They make a fair amount of sense. There are still some more shapes that we're going to want to add in. These are just a fraction of the ones we're going to need in the end. Let's go and put in a nostril editor. Hurrah! The nostril editor will allow us to edit the nostril. I know that that's a shocker. So we'll do nostril up, nostril down, nostril wide, nostril narrow, and we're not going to have any nostril forward or backwards. That's a little bit unnecessary, I hope. Lock this into place. Oh. Nostril up, save, just in case. So when we bring the nostril up, what we're going to do is we're actually going to rotate the nostrils rather than just move them up. Actually, nostrils... Sorry, I was thinking to myself about the tip of the nose and how it should work. Unfortunately, we really need another bone in our nose for annoying and stupid reasons, but I'm not going to go in and put one in because this is temporary art and I don't want to have to redo all of this. I'll put one into the final version. So here we've got the nostrils, and you can just bring them up as you can see, but it ends up looking a little bit silly. So what we're going to want to do is bring them up a small amount, but then also do some rotation. Like this. And then we'll bring them in maybe? I think that bringing them in might be a good idea. No, it's not. That should be fine. So there's our nostrils up. I'll save that. Got nostril down. Now nostril down, we can try and drag them down and see how that looks. And you can see that that doesn't look too bad. We've got a couple of options as to adjusting the nostrils like this, but I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we want to actually rotate them like that. We could do this, and that's what I did with the old nostrils. The nostrils down in the old version went into this pig shape. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that, but I wonder whether or not this is a shape that we should also allow, because this is, I mean, a pretty common nose shape. Yeah, let's go ahead and just leave it like this for now. We can get the little pig nose or cat nose in a lot of other ways, so we're not going to worry about it. Save this pose. I'm going to do nostrils wide. Reset, please. There we are. We got some wide nostrils. And then we'll do some nostrils narrow. Reset pose. And give me those little nostrils. Yup. Oh. Reset pose. And now we'll double check all of our terms. Yep, looks like it works. So now we can go up and take a close look at the nose. Now this doesn't adjust the overall width of the nose because that's the job of this guy. See? So using these combinations of methods, we should be able to get some reasonable noses that look very different from each other, and that's kind of the point. That nostril doesn't look quite right, does it? Nostrils down doesn't look quite right. If we drag this up, we can get that pig nose, which is why I wasn't really concerned about the nostrils down working. But I think that what we want to do is make that nostrils down look a little more natural. It probably looks fine up to 75% though, so we'll go ahead and just live with it for now. We'll do it later if we need to. Yeah, so you can see we've got a variety of noses, but they're all pretty gentle. Now the reason for that is because when we limit it to 0.75, it's very rare that we get the stack of morphs that we would normally get. But one of the problems we've got with this face morph is that we're only picking a couple of morphs, and we really want to be able to specify how many morphs we'll pick. So we're going to open up the morph manager here. And we're going to look down at the randomizer. Randomize. So here is our randomizer, and you can see that we've arbitrarily chosen 7 as the number of random objects. We're going to go ahead and make that something we can specify. Public int number of poses equals 7. 7 might make sense for the body, where there's only a couple of shapes that I'm aiming for. In fact, that might be high for the body. But for the face, we're probably going to want more than that. So here, we're going to go ahead and say number of poses. There we go. Up here, we can now change the number of poses from 7. Hello? Did I get an error? Oh, it's just taking its time. 7 to, say, 10. And then up here on the body, we can change the number of poses from 7 to 5. So we got primary and secondary pose weight. I don't believe that those actually do anything anymore. Let's take a look. No, they don't. There's no longer such a thing as a primary and secondary weight, so just get rid of them. Simplify our life. Boom. Going up to the face. So now when we hit randomize, we should get faces that look substantially different, and you can see that's exactly what's happening. None of them are so cartoonish that they're unacceptable, but they all look distinct, and that is the point. Now we still have a couple more morphs that we should really do if we want these faces to really look distinct. Wow. Look at how long the face can get. The eyebrows need some work, so let's go ahead and add in, and so do the cheeks. So let's go ahead and start with the eyebrows, so we can get to the cheeks in a second here. You think I need to make little squonking sound effects for the video game's actual editor? I could. You can hear me making them now. I'm perfectly capable of going into the system, into the mic. So we're not controlling the brow width separately from the rest of the head. I see brow width separately from the rest of the head a lot, but I'm still not sure that that's something people actually want. Does anyone actually adjust the brow width in some kind of fine detail? Because it doesn't seem like that would be very useful. So this is going to be brow up, brow down, brow sideways, brow wide set, brow wide, brow narrow, brow out, and brow in. Right. Let's get to it. Lock it in. And brow up. So basically, we're going to make some people have default brows, and that means that their personality is going to be expressed largely through how their brows end up looking. So for the brow up, we're going to be raising the inner brow. So did we lock it? I think we locked it. Yeah. So here's our brow centers. We'll just go ahead and drag them up like so. And we can also rotate them if we'd like, but I think that we'll just go ahead and drag these guys up too. Yeah, maybe we do want to rotate the brows, so we'll just do a little bit of rotating. There we are. Save pose. Reset pose. And we're going to move this to the brow mid left rather than the brow center left, just so that there's less skewing when you adjust it. Well, eyebrows are a fairly important part of the character. I'm talking about the forehead ridge. Do you know what I mean? So for brows down, did I save brow up? Yeah. The problem with brow down is that it's easy for it to accidentally collide with the eye if you've scaled the eye up or moved it up in any way. Still, it should work fine. Save pose. And I'm going to do brow, what did I call it? Out? I think I called it out. No, wait, brow out was the other one. This is brow wide. So the wide brow is just going to be jump. And jump. Oh, too many adjustments there. Try again. That's not the right axis. Try again. So we're going to raise the mid and outer brows just a little bit here so that it feels like they are a little bit angrier. That'll do. We can push it further than that. Save pose. Reset pose and brow narrow. We'll be moving the center brow in. Nope. Nope. And maybe forward a touch. Yeah, like that. That's fine. And when we do this, we can bring the brows up or down as we see fit, but I think we'll leave that to the other element, so you can adjust them separately. But what I do want to do is get these center brows looking a little bit more on point. There. Monobrow fever. A little too much, I think. So we'll bring these center brows down. There we are. Or up. Yeah. That's fine. Reset pose. And we got brow 4 and brow back. Brow out and brow in. And this is going to be as far as I'm going to go with the brow adjusting, because these are actually going to be adjusting the brow scale by dragging it out and dragging it in. Yeah, that's too much adjustment. Try again. Save pose, reset pose, and brow in. Int? No, in. Int? No, in. We'll scale this down a little bit. Doop, doop, and then drag it back. Yup, that didn't drag it back at all. You liar. Save pose. We've got to do some chin and cheek adjustments after this. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. So first let's go for the cheek, which we're going to just drop on the cheek L here. And move it right into place. Oh, not static. Unlocked. There. And we're going to do cheek pixie, cheek jowl, cheek pudge, cheek gaunt, cheek out and cheek in. So those are going to be what we're going to do with our cheek. So to do that, we're going to go back and lock in right here. And start that up. Cheek pixie. For this, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create like a heart-shaped face. So grab those cheeks and pull them out like this. There. I guess we'll probably want to, well, it's fine. It's fine. Save. And this will be cheek jowl. And these will obviously be inflated here. But we're going to move them down like we did with the pixie. But we're also going to start to adjust our jaw elements here. Shdoop. Shdoop. Save pose. Reset pose. Cheek pudge. That's the cheekbone. There's the cheeks themselves. And I think we want to move these cheeks down. Now what we're going to want to do is adjust the lower jaw scale so that it doesn't feel quite so stupid. And there's a lot of places we can do that. Glosson says, are you going to do any asymmetric controls? Do you think there's any value in adding them? I think there's a lot of value in adding them. I don't plan to do any right now, though. They can wait, and we'll put them in later as we need them, I suppose. Oh, I got to bring the cheeks forward a little bit for this, don't I? Just a touch. God damn, this mouse is just freaking out. Cheek. Save pose, reset. Now it's time for the gaunt cheek. Save pose, reset pose. Now it's cheek out and cheek in. A little too far out, I think. But we're going to adjust some of the other elements that we can use to make that a little bit less chunky. And I think that includes our jaw left and jaw right. Whoa! Ah! No, obviously not. And we'll want to bring the mouth edges forward. And bring the mouth elements back. Baguette says, are you planning to also do alien customization? Well, the way that I'm doing this is I'm making it moddable, and you can put in any species you want, including other meshes for humans if you don't like the defaults. And it should be relatively easy for a modder to set up a similar system to this one. I mean, it feels like it's a lot of work, but I've done the entire body in around 2 hours. I mean, the entire body and face in around 2 hours, so it's not really as much work as it might first appear. And you can go ahead and have any sort of chaotic setup you'd like. And we'll do cheek in. In, not int. What is with me today? So for cheek in, we're going to want to drag the cheeks backwards. Yep. And we're also going to want to drag the mouth back just a little bit. And then the center lips a little forward. There. And save that. Reset. Pose. Hit play. Alright, so go up to the face. And you can see that we can now edit the cheek a little bit. Yep. 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 Whoop. We got a couple of errant little faces in there. We got some interior faces that have been bound to the wrong bones. That's fine for now. We'll deal with it later. Baguetta says, that sound noisy. I'm not sure what that means. Let's do some cheekbone adjustment now. Very simple stuff. Cheekbone. There you are. And this is going to just be cheekbone up, cheekbone down. We got cheekbone out, cheekbone out, no, wide. Cheekbone narrow, and cheekbone out, and cheekbone in. And these are all just very, very basic adjustments of two bones, so shouldn't take long at all. Just grab them and adjust them. Yep. Save pose. Save pose. Do. Doom. Save pose. Baguetta said, I tried to say nice as possible. Well, if you like those kinds of random noises, there's no reason I can't include them in the final build. It's certainly easier than looking up actual sounds. So here you can see we've got an issue where if we bring the cheekbone in enough, we get a ledge. And that means that we also have to bring the cheekbones forward. And that might be kind of a disappointment because it means we're going to be adjusting on two scales at once, but it's necessary. So this is going to be cheekbones out. Save pose, reset pose, and then cheekbones in. Now, cheekbones in, we've already done it a couple of times. I think I'm not going to create a cheekbones in. No cheekbone in. Let's click on this guy, go over to the inspector, no cheekbone in. Perfect. So if we go up to the face now and we look at the cheekbones and we highlight them, you can see that there's only 3 arrows here on the cheekbones, whereas there's 4 arrows for the other ones. It automatically excludes any arrow that is illegal or irrelevant. However, it appears that I can't drag left or right. There's a bug in the code, apparently. Well, I'll leave it for now. We can work it out later. I'll write it down. Note to self. Where are my pens? I've got a whole bunch of pens, but they're all like expensive brush pens, and I don't want to waste them on this. Cheekbone out, asymmetric handles don't work. All right. So there's our cheekbone, our eyebrow overall, our eyes, our cheek. One thing left, our chin. So let's put that into effect. Just default, drag it down to our jaw here, drop it down, increase the size. And start doing some renaming here. So chin up, chin down, chin wide, chin narrow, chin out, chin in. No, spell it right. Chin in. No. Chin in. All right, there we are. And that should do. I'll just move it back a little bit. And let's start to do this. We've got a jaw scale. Let's put it in there. There we are. So chin up. Where are you? Oh, there you are. So with the chin up, we obviously mostly are looking at shortening this element here, just like this. But we can also do some rotation if we like. However, I don't think we want to. In fact, we may want to do the opposite, like this, to preserve that. There, that's chin up. Reset pose. Chin down. I think we need to adjust some of the other jaw elements to try and keep pace here. That's fine. Save pose. Reset pose. Chin wide. And this is actually going to be adjusting the head scale rather than just the jaw scale, but only a little bit. So let's do chink and jink. There we are. Mighty chin. Save pose. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit like this. Just a little bit. Reset pose. And then chin narrow, which is going to be the opposite. So let's do the opposite. Chin out and chin in. And obviously this is going to be mostly about bringing that chin forward and making it jut. There's our good old-fashioned chin butt. And then chin in. We're going to give ourselves an obnoxious recessive chin. Reset pose, and let's take a look at how that feels to edit. So pop up on up to the face, grab a chin, and yeah, I think it's okay. Combines with the other editable objects reasonably well. Yeah, that's a ticket. There should be more than one. I couldn't see that one for a second there. There we are, like that. No, like this. I should change the background color at least, because the background color is really, really obnoxious. So let's just go ahead and change it to a flat color for now. The avatar edit camera will show you a solid color of dark blue, like this. All right, so now we can go up to the face, and you can see how these faces look with multiple morphs applied to them. And each of our faces now looks unique. The point here isn't that every face is like a main character heroic face. These are people you're going to meet on the street, and I want to feel like every one of them is distinct enough for you to tell apart from the others. So, that seems pretty good. Let's go to edit the body, just so that it hides those elements. And then we'll zoom in on the face. There we are. I have done a mistake. Try again. Yeah, you know what? I think that this is pretty good. We've got a lot of variation in our face. It feels fairly natural. Nobody looks... some of them look dumb, but they don't look illegal. They're cartoonish, but they're supposed to be. So none of them feel like they're illogical faces. And then, of course, you can edit them to make them more whatever. One of the things we haven't done yet is the edit handles need to be initialized with the values that we got from the random elements, because otherwise, when we go to edit them, they'll reset to 0 before they actually get edited. Which is obviously not the best. So with that in mind, we're going to go over to our avatar edit handle here. We should have an on enable already. We do not have an on enable. We've got an on start. All right. On enable. Fetch values. And we'll do that here as well. Void fetch values. So we'll just take a look for our avatar edit controller. Actually, why don't we make this go the other direction? Set values. And go ahead and avatar edit controller. No, wait, we don't want that. We want... Does this have a specific morph attached to it? Yes. So it is avatar edit controller parent. And what we're going to want to do is just go and find our values in the morph. So what's it called? It's called deform manager. So parent.deformmanager.getPose. Fetch deforms. No, that's all of them. Randomize deforms. Did I not make one? That's stupid. Let's go on over to the deform manager and set one up. So the idea is that we want to be able to get the current value of any named pose. We got apply pose and get pose isn't one of the things we have, so that's what we're going to do. And I just walked through it to make sure that it wasn't one of the things we had. So we'll just go ahead and put that right up here. Public void, a public float, get pose value. We'll get pose, yeah, that's fine. We get pose value, string, pose name. Why did you, pose name. And we'll just go ahead and look through all of our poses for each applied poses. Why is it being weird? Oh, it's because I'm doing it in the wrong order. Dictionary workaround, DW in applied poses. If DW.key equals pose name, then return dw.value. Else return -1. There's no need for an else there, just there. That's all we needed to do. So now we'll return a value between 0 and 1 if it's valid, or -1 if there is no key for it. And there should always be keys for it, so if we ask for it and it comes back as a -1, we know that we're not actually on the right deform manager, and we can say so. So with that in mind, let's go over to the edit handle and get that there. Get pose value. And we're going to just do this for each of our poses here. The problem is that we might have two morphs. And for that, when that happens, we'll just go ahead and choose the latter one. For example, X and negative and X positive might both be selected randomly. So when that happens, we'll just set ourselves to being one of them, whichever one. So float val 0 equals parent to deform manager to get pose. We'll want to get it as the morph right. Float val 1 equals same thing with morph left. Now, if we're passing in empty values, we might as well return a 0. So that's what we're going to set this up to do. If pose name equals nothing, return 0. So this will be, these values can be 0 or 1 or -1, but what we want to do is we want to set our value.x to vector 3 loaded val equals new vector 3, or just vector 3.0, I guess. We'll want to set loaded val up, but only if one of the values is true and one of the values is false. So we'll just say loaded value dot x equals val 0 minus val 1. That should do. And if they're both set, we'll end up with something halfway between, and whatever. That's good enough. So we're going to just repeat that for each of the values. Morph up, morph down. My worry here is that I may end up inverting a couple of these, and we'll have to take a look for that. This is mouth 4, mouth, morph 4, morph back, and loaded.z, and then we just say val equals loaded val. That's all we need to do. So let's take a look at this and see whether or not it works. I forgot to actually set it up. You gotta plug in the cord before the computer turns on. So we never actually call set values, and that's something we obviously have to call. We'll call it right here in on add to stack. Handle.set values. Didn't I? Oh, it's not public. This. And there we are. That should do it. Grind, grind, grind. Let's go on up to the face and take a look here. So we've got a couple of things. We've pulled the whole mouth back, and you can see that that is true. So now, when we edit it, it no longer pops to an arbitrary position, and instead it starts where it's supposed to be, and that's nice. That's good. That's what we want. Got some cheeks that have been pulled in here. Here it is. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move that back. This is too far forward. All right. So that is all of the face stuff I want to do for today. I mean, you can go into as much detail as you want, but given that this is temporary art, I don't want to spend too long on it. And that is, I spent a total of 3 hours on absolutely everything to get this character to where it is. That's not an ideal character yet. There's lots of stuff left over that we could probably fix up to be a little bit better here and there. But I'm not too worried about it at the moment. It is good enough as is. because the whole point is to give the characters just some distinctiveness. They don't have to actually be perfect. Now, the thing that I haven't done, the thing that I've actually reverted, is that there's no longer any animations for these characters. No more body animations. There's still facial expressions, but there's no body animations. So to get those back in, we have to actually do them again. So, would you like me to do that on screen or not? Because my voice is getting a little bit scratchy and I'm thinking about winding down here. But if a whole bunch of people want to see me do in Unity animations, I can do that. I use a special library called Skelly. It's pretty helpful, but I won't be able to distribute it, obviously. But those of you that are still following, all 2 of you, will have to tell me whether or not you want me to actually do that on screen, or whether you're okay with me stopping here and just moving along off screen. Yeah, just checking my Twitter while I wait for a second here. There we go. Yeah, my voice isn't too bad. It's just getting a little scratchy. So Clausen and Carl both would like to see me animate in Unity. All right. Keep in mind that normally you don't animate in Unity, not unless you have a death wish. But because the output from Blender is broken, my options are either animate in Unity or jump through a hell of a lot of hoops trying to fix the Blender outputs. This isn't a very animation-heavy game, so I'm okay with animating in Unity. And there are 2 pieces to that puzzle. One piece is the animator. You've got to have an animator attached. I do. And the second piece is how you move the bones around. T-Cure would also like to see me animate, so I guess I'm animating. What we're going to be doing right now is creating some default poses that our characters can be in based on their personalities. These already exist in Blender, but we have to remake them here. So let's go ahead and do so. So we'll go ahead and start with a heroic pose. Off screen. It popped up on the wrong screen, but it's just one of these guys. It's no biggie. Just gotta drop it into the animations section. We'll go ahead and create a new animations folder, which we will call avatar animations. And then here we're gonna call it stand proud. There we are. We've created a new stand proud animation. And basically, this is going to be just a 1-frame animation. We'll add in like some gentle motions later if we would like, but we don't need it to move into this animation from neutral. The blending will do that for us. But for standing proud, what we're going to want to do is offer up a pretty basic system of wider legs and stuff like that. The question is, how do you do that? Well, the weirdest thing about Skelly is that it doesn't attach to the Skelly. It attaches to the mesh. And I think that's kind of stupid, but it works. It doesn't really matter. So down here, you can see I've got the highlight button highlighted. And if I just grab these Skelly bones and rotate them, you can see that they get applied down there. And the reason that Skelly is so nice is simply because you can grab these bones without worrying about trying to hunt them down in the hierarchy. And that makes it much, much easier to actually animate stuff. Oop. But you still randomly rotate stuff wrong. So stand proud, I think we're going to go ahead and have that be a hands on hips sort of thing. Now, one of the problems with this is that it's a lot harder to do than in Blender, even with Skelly. And there's just really no way around it, I'm afraid. Oh no, look at that. That's awful. Ah! So that happens when you have bad weighting on your elbow, and you end up with some awful, awful situation. But in general, you can be a little bit better than that. That was pretty bad. So this is basically the gesture we want. And we can go up here and rotate this to try and bring that into, yeah, there. I like that. Yes, Clausen. Skelly does do IK and constraints. I'm not going to be using them. And they're not live. They are... they're like in Blender. You can grab the leg and it will constrain. But you can't tell it to do it live while in play mode. Because this is an editor update. Look at that. That's awful. All right, well, let's just keep doing the thing that we're doing here. You can see why I was like, I'm not sure that they want to see this, because it's pretty fiddly stuff. If the rotation was a little bit better, it would be nicer, but it unfortunately is a little bit chunky, and that's a shame. I'm talking about the rotation widget here. It's just a really finicky widget. All right. Well, let's go ahead and make this kind of a chest out pose. Yeah. That's fine. I'll just bring this neck down here, like so. I guess we want to bring the arms into vaguely the same pattern here. Well, now we could bend every individual finger forward if we would like. And you can see that there are some nice shortcuts here. For example, if you hit Control, you get all of the fingers like this, see? And that's a pretty nice little trick if you need to bend all of them. But unfortunately for us, it doesn't work right. And that's been annoying me for a while. Blender actually has a very similar problem, but you can see that what we've done here is the undo doesn't work right in this situation. And it's... Skelly is nice, but I really wish that it were a little nicer. Because if you select multiple bones, it will only unrotate one when you press undo, which seems like a pretty serious issue. Well, Clausen, Skelly is not free, so don't get too excited unless you like the idea of spending $50 on something. If that's enough to drive you away, then Skelly is not for you, I'm afraid. Yeah, I think that's probably good. Let's go ahead and drop the neck a little bit more. There we go. And that means that we now have a stand proud animation. And the stand proud animation has only rotations in it, no scaling or anything like that. And that means that when we use it in our game, we're going to have a lot of stuff that stays with us with no problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to try it out. Here in the animator, oh, that's not the right animator. Here in the animator, we've got our stand proud, and it's just going to be the only animation we've got. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the update late command, which I think is in the deform manager. Late update. Mechanim fix. Yeah, there it is. Where is this called? What is calling the mechanim fix? Find references. There we are. In the custom avatar. All right. Begin attack run comes in real late. So you can see now that we have our pose. Now the question is, do we keep the pose as we adjust the character? And the answer is yes. So we can easily change the character to be any size or shape. Of course, we do have an issue where the hands don't rest on the hips anymore if you've got like wide shoulders and stuff. I'll be adjusting that later using a technique where there are several animations, or maybe an IK animation. I'm not sure which yet. But the basic idea is here. We don't have any more problem with having to continuously update the rotations or anything like that like we used to. If we go up to the face, we can see that we can also adjust the face however we would like. But did you see how it popped in like that? There's a bug right now where there's some kind of reset issue. So we're only getting one of the two deforms as far as I know. No, it looks like she has a unique face. Yeah, she's got a deform. Yeah, all these characters I've got unique faces, so that's fine. So you can see that the hands on hips would work better if I was using some IK or some kind of more adaptive animation. And that is the end goal. But at the moment, I don't have any... Oh, would you look at that? The default is busted now. I changed the default and it ended up breaking. So what we're going to do is reset the default using our deform manager here. See the fingers? Snap. That's where they're supposed to be. So that should work fine. So this pose here really does require us to use some IK so that we can actually land on the hips. But there is no IK currently, and I'm not going to try and do that on camera because it's been a long time since I've tried to do that, and I'm not going to be using Skelly IK for it because Skelly IK is, as far as I know, not runtime. Even if it was runtime, I wouldn't be able to use it because it's not CC0, so I can't give it away. Let's go ahead and make a couple more poses. Ooh, it is dinner time for me. So if we were to go ahead and create a new clip, we could name it something else, like stand_prim. And so what we're going to do is we're now going to create a new animation for ourselves that is prim. So the prim animation, I'm just inheriting these from my really old ideas. If you guys have something you want to see instead, feel free to tell me. But basically, I just got a couple of different animations for personalities that are just different enough that you can get a feeling for the characters. They're not intended to actually dictate personality or anything like that. They're just intended to give a little bit of personality. And what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this like that. There. And then we'll adjust the whole character a little bit off to one side like this. I guess we'll have to bring these feet back under control. Oh. So animation helpers over here. These are theoretically useful, but in actuality, they're just in the way, and I don't know how to get rid of them. But, you know, the IK could be useful in some situations. What I'd really prefer is for them to replace this rotation widget with a decent one. You can see there's a little bit of a flutter when I rotate stuff. That's another problem with Skelly, but it's not a very big one. I mean, a tiny flutter is barely noticeable. In fact, you guys may not have even been able to see it. So let's bring this in and then back like this. And then we'll just bring it, I guess, out a little bit. we can rotate from here to bring the whole shoulder down. And from here to bring the whole shoulder up. There we are. And then we can cock the head slightly. Right, so there is a prim stand, and if we look over at the animator here, you can see that we got it automatically added in. So what we really want to do is have a system for switching to the correct one for our personality. And obviously the easiest way to do that is to transition from any state into the personality of our choice. There we go. So here we're going to make this transition in if the personality equals 0, or 1 in this case, because the personality 0 is actually an errored personality that I'm setting aside specifically for error. And then this one will be if the personality equals 2. Now we have a system for setting these personalities already up and running. But just to show you, if we hit play here, and we move the animator over here, you can see that it's got a couple of bugs. It's transitioning in way too much. So what we need to do is have it only transition when it's not transitioning to itself. Here we are. So you can see how in the settings we have the option to can transition to self, and we'll just undo that. That way there won't be too much fluttering. Now that animation is technically a looping animation, which is fine for when we introduce some duration to it. But what we want to do is change the personality to 2 and watch what happens. See? So by changing the personality, it will slide between the animations. There's no need for transition animations unless you're doing something exceptional, like their arm is going to move through their body during the transition. This simple method is a real time saver, so don't focus too much on transition animations. Usually the transitions will take care of themselves. Clausen says there's no way you could just reverse the order on your morph animations and your Blender animations and get applied to fix that override problem. So the reason that it's a problem is that it outputs the save. It saves values for the position and scale of every bone that I affect when I only want it to output rotation. And unfortunately for me, they come in as read-only. So my options are I can either do the animations in Blender and then export to FBX, and then export to a specific kind of FBX, and then input that as text, and then edit that text, and then export it as FBX from the text, and then import that FBX, and that'll have my animations in it. Or I can do the animations in Unity. If you know of a way to remove pieces of an FBX animation from a .blend import, just like an automatic transition, that would be ideal. I don't know how. I've got a .blend file, it comes through. There's an FBX transition behind the scenes where it automatically exports to FBX, but then when it finishes, all I've got are these read-only animations. What I'd really like to do is have an import adjustment where it doesn't allow anything but rotation as its animations. I just don't know how to do that. I don't know what you mean by reversing the order on your morph animations, but it doesn't work that way because the morph can rotate some bones and not other bones. Like, for example, I can rotate the nostrils, but I don't rotate the arms when I'm morphing the character. But when I am applying the morphs and I apply those rotations, they can rotate the arm back to 0 if I don't do it right. So what I want is I want to apply the morphs and then just leave them the hell alone. The morphs are what they are. And if the animations override a morph, then the morph gets overridden. but it shouldn't. Nobody should be animating the nostril bones. The problem is that the export from Blender includes a scale and rotation and offset no matter what, and that's no good. But you're right, this is annoying to do. Putting this stuff together in Unity is a lot less good than putting it together in Blender. But I've only got 6 animations to do, and they're very, very basic, so I'm not too concerned for today. I can always go and use other animations tomorrow if I can figure out how to get Blender to play nice. So let's see, what other animations did I have in the original model avatar? Scale down here. Duck foot, arms crossed. Yeah, that's fine. So let's go ahead and do some of those. Create a new clip, stand duck foot. And let's do it. Drop this over here, start edit. So the duck foot, pretty obvious. And what we're going to do is we're just going to basically make them lean back. Okay, so that includes the skeleton down below. That's fine then. And then we'll put their arms behind them. Yep, wrong button. Yeah, more or less correct. I wouldn't want to use this animation system for everything. It's not as bad as it looks once you get used to it, but it's certainly not as good as Blender, which is specialized in it, so, you know. So the late update solution is really messy, and it turned out to be too messy. It's both expensive and messy, so I'm not using it. Carl says, do you know if it's Blender messing up, or is it then Unity creates the FBX from the blend? If I export it from Blender, it still messes up, and I can show you that by opening up the ASCII version, because you can export an ASCII FBX file, and you can see that it includes all of the values for every bone rather than the values actually specified by the keyframe. You can test this yourself by opening up Blender, creating an armature, moving one of the armature's bones as an animation, and then exporting it. You can open it up and see for yourself. I did a lot of checking, Clausen, to try different things. There is a bug in Blender itself. All of the kinds of exports export all values for every bone. It's not something that is just a setting somewhere, at least not in any of the 50 settings I tried. Begin Attack says, make sure it's right hand over left. By over, do you mean behind, as in like this? Because if that's the case, it's easy enough to do. Calling it a parade rest is a bit much. It's more like a slapdash crap, but that's fine. Yep. Further from the rear. I'm going to presume he means butt. So with that in mind, that can be our duck positioning. The duck foot is pretty basic stuff. It's not really a parade rest. It's just kind of awkward, and that's fine. We can live with that. So we can create a new clip. And this one is going to be proper, stand proper. And this will be more like a parade rest. So with this in mind, we're going to rotate from here to pull the shoulders back to get us a proper setup. And then we're going to rotate like, oop. I managed to grab the wrong bone, I think. Oh, no, wait. The black means that that's the bone I've grabbed. All right. Got myself confused for a second. So with this in mind, here, yep. That looks bad. I think that that is a bad animation. I think I screwed it up. That's fine, though. I don't care that much anymore. So, we don't need it to be that high. Let's go ahead and bring it down. Terma Vibratus says, this is sick bra. It's not really that sick. It's pretty generic. It's generic sick, or something like that. So we've got this twist here that I want to get rid of. It's a little too twisted for comfort. Fixing that twist involves twisting the shoulder in a variety of ways, and there's a couple of ways we can do that. The end result is that you don't want to build a mesh where you have to fight like this to get the arms to bend the way you want them to. There are a number of ways to build meshes that are better than this. Rigs, specifically. The meshes are kind of a secondary concern in this particular situation. And what that means is building bones that will just naturally flow into the right positions. And I've done some work on some more meshes, and they do that fairly well. So this is strictly a temporary setup. I just can't switch the skeleton right now because I have to redo literally everything, and I don't feel like doing that. That's fine. So there is our stand proper, and let's go ahead and create a new one, which we will call crossed arms. And obviously that's going to be our crossed arms. So let's cross them. Yep, Terma Vibratus, Vibratorius. It takes a lot of effort to build a game, and this is like a hobbyist game. Normally you wouldn't see this stuff because, you know, they're working, and they work at it 10 hours a day or whatever. Since I'm just a hobbyist, I'm kind of happy to show off what I need to do, what you need to do, you know, what I'm doing. And it is a good example of the kinds of things you would do if you were building a game. It's not necessarily all you would do, but it's certainly a piece of the puzzle. So do I want to bring it below or above? I think probably bringing it above in this case. Then we can bring this down like this, and then this guy, bring him in like this. And then I can bring this arm out and then in like this. Close enough. And that would be our just generic grumpy stand. We're going to go ahead and have them lean forward a little bit with this stand. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. To give it just a little bit of difference from some of the other stands. Yeah, it is an annoying industry. You definitely don't want to get into it. You can make twice as much money in any other industry for half as much work. So now we're going to have a stand aggressive. And this is going to be the last one we do. And it's just going to be a really aggressive stance. So Wah. Oop. For the aggressive stance, let's go ahead and make the legs slightly akimbo. Just a little bit. And have a little bit of a lean, just for the sake of adding some dynamism. Never sure what to do with the arms, but you know how it is. We'll just go ahead and let them rest here with a little bit of a flex on the elbow. So one of the details that you may or may not have noticed about this particular editor, while I am doing local editing, the bones are being edited on the local scales, the local axes. What I'm getting out of this is the actual widget is not. The widget is a global widget. So it's a little bit tough to remember which direction is actually X. So, you know, I think that's probably fine. Let's just leave it like this for now. And we'll go over into the animator. Here is the right animator, right up front here. And we'll just stack them up. And all of these have to be set up differently, so cannot transition to self, cannot transition to self, cannot transition to self, cannot transition to self, and transition where we are equal to 3, equal to 4, equal to 5, equal to 6. And I think that that's the maximum number, but it's easy enough to check. We'll go on back over to the avatar here, and our custom avatar should have a personality max. Max personality 5, 6. There we go. Oh, did I just make it so that that's an animated? I don't think I did. I think we're fine. Trimo Vibratorius says some behavioral psychology and modeling the stances. Not really. I'm just trying to make them distinct enough that they give some kind of impression of personality. So, you know, as long as there is some indication that they have unique personalities, it's fine. That aggressive stance looks terrible, though. Let's go ahead and fix it up. Carl says I missed a transition to itself. Oh man, it's Skelly has a couple of bugs in it, and it's difficult to remember that shit. Just bring this down here. I'll do a double check on the transition to itself stuff in a moment. Okay, we'll make this one a pointer, like that. Just make him like, you. I don't believe that I ever bothered to make the fingers rig correctly, since this was temporary, and it was like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So, chances are pretty high that this fist is going to look, this pointer is going to look pretty terrible. And pull out a little bit away from the chest here. There. Perfect, right? It's exactly what we want our person to look like when they're grumpy. Clausen says he's researching about the Blender animation problem. Clausen, if you solve that Blender animation problem, I will give you like names in the credits or whatever, because that is a pretty serious issue for me. You're right, I missed one. I must have clicked on the orange one instead. The only thing I could think of was like this massive chain of obnoxious shit. What is... okay. So I turned off the skeleton editor and it accidentally didn't finish turning off. That's fine. We'll live with it for now. It is a mess for me. It's one of the worst things. Now let's make this bigger. There's no reason to keep you small. Get a good look. Hello. How are you doing? Good, good. Definitely could use some IK here. I might wait until we have a final mesh for the IK though. I think I might have screwed up the animator. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. No, I didn't. Okay. Just had some weird luck. Termo Vibratorius says, do you have a team? I have a team of me. This is just a hobbyist, a one-person hobby. At the end of February, I will be releasing a version of this where you can both create the spaceship and put the crew on it. But I'm not quite ready yet. I've got to finish saving crew members. Right now, you can't save them, and that is obviously not very useful. If I was smart, I'd put the personalities that don't phase through the body next to each other. So let's see, that is... Alright. So let's put those two in a different position. So arrange them a little bit better. So the duckfoot and the propper both have arms behind their back. And then Proud has, let's see, I've forgotten. So if we go up to the animator and stand Proud, yeah, sure, show us the stand Proud. So that one's got at the side. And that's good. So the Proud can be between them. Not create a new clip. Just show me a different clip. So Prim and Proud both have their arms at the side. Aggressive. Okay, so that's fine. So if we're going to do that, it's Prim, Proud, probably in this direction. And then aggressive. Yeah, there we are. So we'll go ahead and rearrange these so that there is no situation where you cross through the body, visually speaking. Termo Vibratorius says, what's your opinion on the Steam Greenlight issue? Well, Steam has been trying to get away from they don't like to curate. They don't like spending money or having a team. So they've been trying to get away from curation for a long time. And this is a pretty straightforward way to do that. If they can completely get rid of Greenlight, then they don't have to do any curation at all. And that saves them a tremendous amount of money. Whether it's good or bad is up to whether you like a curated Steam or not. Clausen says, do you know anything about the distinction between actions and animations in Blender? I'm not clear, but if someone said using actions rather than animations is important. So there is something called the non-linear action editor. And basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to take animations and put animations onto a timeline. So an action is a set of animations on a timeline. And you can go ahead and look into that if you'd like. I tested it. It doesn't change what gets exported in terms of fixing that bug. But if you do like to do nonlinear animations and have a whole bunch of like, for example, if you wanted to do an 8-second long loop, but then stretch it out to a 40-second long loop by mixing it with other things, that's what you'd use this for. I don't need to do that, but it doesn't change what bone elements get exported. It just changes, when Unity gets them, as far as I can tell, Unity just takes those actions as standard animations, but, I can't remember off the top of my head whether I tested that. I just tested to see whether or not they were broken, and they were still broken. All right, well, I'm going to take some screenshots of our new system here and send them on over to my buddies on Twitter. Unique random characters. Don't mind the little editing balls. Editing widgets. Indie dev. Too many E's. Paste. That one looks really bad, actually. That one's fine. Paste. Placeholder mesh will last a few months, I think. Tweet. Well, Clausen, I hate to ditch you in the middle of your investigation. I think that you're on Twitter, and you know me. I think I remember seeing you tweet me before. So if you want to keep talking about this, I'm happy to keep talking on Twitter. I'll try and pay attention to the chat here as well, but since I don't check back on the chat, rigorously over days, I might miss it if you do anything later. But my voice is starting to go. I've been up for 3 hours, so let's call that a day. Thanks for hanging around, you guys. I'm glad that you like this at least somewhat. Feel free to chime in again on Wednesday or next Sunday. Also, I'll stay on chat for another minute or two to respond to any questions you might have non-verbally. Where is my... There it is. See you in a couple of days.